Throughout the decades, NBA brother duos have been making their impacts on the league. In some cases, one brother is vastly superior to the other, and in other cases, both players were just average NBA players at best. But in even rarer cases, both players were legitimate stars in the NBA. Today, I'm breaking down my list of the top 6 greatest brother duos in league history, and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my rankings. Number 6. Horace and Harvey Grant. I'm starting off my list with a pair of twins, as both of these brothers made their presence known as quality power forwards in the league. Let's first focus on Horace. He was definitely the more famous brother out of the two, as he's most known for being the third option during the Bulls' first three-peat in the 1990s. At his best, he was averaging about 15 points per game in Chicago, but his best quality, and too often an ignored aspect of his game, was his defense. Horace was a stifling presence in the post, as he made a total of 4 all-defense teams throughout his career, and was even an NBA All-Star in 1994. Add in his quality rebounding, and Horace obviously deserves more recognition for his championship contribution. Although Horace was more known, at his peak, you could argue that Harvey was the better scorer, as he averaged over 18 points per game over a 3-season stretch with the Washington Bullets. He was never the rebounder or defender that Horace was, and he never had a real shot at a championship due to playing for less competitive teams. But he knew how to get a bucket, and with their combined talent, they're good enough for the starting spot of the list. Number 5. Bernard and Albert King. Many people don't realize that the NBA Hall of Famer Bernard King actually had a brother who played in the league as well. Although there's no question that Bernard certainly had the better career, Albert was definitely a quality player in his own right. Bernard was the superstar though, as he made 4 All-Star teams and 4 All-NBA teams, which honestly should have been much more if knee injuries hadn't drastically shortened his basketball career. To this day, Bernard has the Christmas Day record when he dropped 60 points in 1984. Fun fact, he actually did that against his brother's team, the New Jersey Nets. Albert just didn't play on that specific night because of an injury. Bernard also led the NBA in scoring in 1985, when he averaged 32.9 points as a member of the New York Knicks. Now as for the younger brother Albert, he didn't have any records or any All-Star appearances, but at his peak, he certainly helped his team win basketball games. In the 82-83 season, Albert was the New Jersey Nets' leading scorer throughout the regular season, averaging 17 points, nearly 6 rebounds, and 4 assists on 47.5% shooting. His Nets won 49 games that year, earning a trip to the playoffs. To be clear, I definitely wouldn't classify both players as a superstar, but at one point, both players were simultaneously the best scorers for their franchises. Number 4. Steph and Seth Curry. Honestly, there's an argument here for these brothers to take the top spot, considering how Steph by himself is more accomplished than just about every other brother duo ahead of them. But the reason why I don't have them that high is because even though Steph is one of the greatest players of all time, Seth wasn't ever close to being considered as an elite player. With that being said, it's not like Seth isn't a quality basketball player, as he's established himself as one of the more efficient three-point shooters in the league, and as a solid scoring spark for the various teams he's played for. Seth doesn't have any accolades on his resume, but without question, he's worthy of a roster spot in the modern game. On the other hand, you don't need me to tell you much about Steph. He's a 2-time MVP, the only unanimous MVP in NBA history, a Finals MVP, the all-time leader in three-pointers made, and he has 4 championship rings. There's no question who carries the legacy in that family. Number 3. Dominique and Gerald Wilkins. For basketball historians, Dominique is a name that's fondly remembered, as he was one of the greatest dunkers that the game of basketball has ever seen. Beyond that, the human highlight film was just a great player overall, as he evolved into a fantastic three-point shooter in the second half of his career, and he was a dominant scorer throughout his entire playing days. Case in point, in his 15-year career, he had a scoring average nearly as high as Kobe Bryant's. Dominique was a 9-time All-Star, he made 7 All-NBA teams, he won the scoring title in 1986, and he's honored as one of the 75 greatest players in NBA history. The younger Gerald Wilkins has certainly lived in the shadow of his older brother, but this 6'6" shooting guard was a scoring force in his own right. He spent his prime years as a member of the New York Knicks, scoring as high as 19 points per game on 48% shooting in 1986. Not quite to the level of his brother, but Gerald was also a thunderous finisher at the rim, gifted with creativity and impressive leaping ability. Unfortunately, just like his brother, Gerald suffered a devastating Achilles injury late in his career. And although Dominique was able to bounce back to the level of his former self, Gerald was not. Ultimately, they're not in the number 1 spot on my list, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a pair of brothers who could score like these two could. Number 2, Tom and Dick Van Arsdale. Along with Horace and Harvey Grant, these legendary brothers are the only other twins on this list, and their connection as brothers is truly uncanny. Both players were 6'5" wings, and both players played for the University of Indiana. Both players were drafted in 1965 and with consecutive picks. Both players made the '66 All-Rookie team. Both players made 3 All-Star teams, and both players ended their careers as a member of the Phoenix Suns. The one advantage that Dick had was the fact that he made the NBA's All-Defensive team in 1974. Other than that, they were basically the same gifted all-around player. During his prime, these were the numbers that Dick put up over a 3-year stretch for the Phoenix Suns. And over that same period of time, these are the numbers that Tom put up as a member of the Cincinnati Royals. Genuinely, you could say that these two players were simultaneously among the best players in the game. And hilariously, whenever they were on the court as teammates, it would be difficult to stay with either of them defensively, considering the fact that they were basically impossible to tell apart outside of their jersey numbers. There's a lot more fascinating details about their story, so I'm sure these two will be getting their own video at some point, but in the meantime, they'll have to settle for second on my list. Here is my list of honorable mentions. Should any of these brothers have made the list instead? Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Number 1, Pau and Marc Gasol. When it comes to both brothers each making their own tremendous impact in the league, there's really no competition for the top spot. Obviously, they'll always be connected as brothers, but many people forget that these two were once traded for one another, which was a part of the package that included Kwame Brown for Pau Gasol. At the time, it appeared to be one of the most lopsided trades that the league had ever seen. But considering how Marc developed into a star in Memphis, it truly wasn't all that bad after all. Pau was 7 feet tall, while Marc was 6'11". Both were incredibly talented and graceful big men, but Pau specialized in scoring, while Marc was the better defensive player. Let's start off by focusing on Pau. At his peak, he was averaging about 20 points per game and snagging nearly 10 rebounds. He was the 2002 Rookie of the Year. He made 6 All-Star teams and 4 All-NBA teams. Famously, he was the pivotal acquisition that took the Los Angeles Lakers from the usual first-round exit to a team that was continuously in the NBA Finals. As the second best player on the squad, Pau won back-to-back championships with the Lakers, and had his legacy immortalized by having his jersey hung in the rafters. On the other hand, Marc made 3 All-Star teams and 2 All-NBA teams. He was the Defensive Player of the Year in 2013, and at his best, he was averaging nearly 20 points per game, while locking down the paint defensively for the Memphis Grizzlies. Later on, as the starting center for the Toronto Raptors, he won the NBA championship in 2019, securing the 3rd championship ring for the Gasol family. So what do you guys think? Is there a brother duo in the NBA today that could make this list? I look forward to hearing your input in the comments. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.